对华政策跨国议会联盟共同主席、欧洲议会对中国关系代表团团长包瑞汉特种外交奖章颁赠典礼。Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ceremony to confer the Grand Medal of Diplomacy on the Honorable Reinhard Bütikofer, co-chair of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China and the chair of the European Parliament's Delegation for Relations with the People's Republic of China. 颁赠典礼开始 The ceremony will now begin. 宣读宋词。对华政策跨国议会联盟共同主席、欧洲议会对中国关系代表团团长包瑞汉，增进台湾与欧盟关系不遗余力，贡献卓著。中华民国外交部特依外交部专业奖章颁给办法规定，颁给特种外交奖章，以表彰其卓越贡献。Citation: The Honorable Reinhard Bütikofer, co-chair of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China and chair of the European Parliament's Delegation for Relations with the People's Republic of China, has made extraordinary efforts to enhance bilateral relations between the Republic of China, Taiwan, and the European Union. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China, Taiwan, in accordance with the regulations governing the awarding of medals, hereby confers upon Mr. Bütikofer the Grand Medal of Diplomacy in recognition of his outstanding contributions. Given in Taipei, on the third day of the 11th month of the 111th year of the Republic of China, Taiwan, corresponding to the third day of 11th month of the year 2022 in the Gregorian calendar. 恭请部长颁赠特种外交奖章。Minister Wu will now confer the Grand Medal of Diplomacy on Mr. Bütikofer and take a photo together. I'd like to invite Minister Wu, display the medal to Bütikofer. Okay, and we'd like to invite Minister to take a photo right now. Okay. Okay, thank you. Now we would like to invite Minister Wu to give his remarks.
Dear Minister Joseph Wu, dear ladies and gentlemen, when the PRC sanctioned me in March 2021, I shared on Twitter the information that I was now prevented from visiting the mainland, Macau, and Hong Kong. I added in that tweet, but then there is Taiwan. Now, finally, I've been able to visit Taiwan again. I am so happy. Democracy does have a home with Chinese people, and Taiwan stands for that. This democratic Taiwan, we in the European Parliament want as a strong partner. For that, a coalition of legislators from the 5 major democratic groups in the European Parliament, from left and progressive to conservative, have been working together and will continue working together to achieve that goal. That on this visit today, I receive your Grand Medal of Diplomacy, Minister Wu, is a very great honor, for which I'm extraordinarily grateful. I accept this on behalf also of the many people that are less in the limelight and still do important work to build a strong global phalanx of democracies. The challenges are growing for our work, so let us grow our common resolve. Thank you very much. I am very grateful.
Thank you.
All the co-chairs of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, distinguished members of the Ipac delegation, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to extend my warmest greetings to Honorable Reinhard Bütikofer, the co-chair of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China and chair of the European Parliament's delegation for relations with the People's Republic of China. Even though he could not be here in person, he is still joining us via video conference from the hospital. Mr. Bütikofer, your visit demonstrates the strength of the relations between Taiwan and the European Union and the bond that unites us with the like-minded democracies across the globe. I hope you are doing well. We all wish you a speedy recovery. Once you are back to full health, I look forward to working together with you to strengthen democratic resilience. On behalf of the people and government of Taiwan, I'm honored to confer the Grand Medal of Diplomacy upon Mr. Bütikofer in recognition of his remarkable contributions to enhancing relations between Taiwan and the EU. As China has become increasingly oppressive at home and aggressive abroad, Mr. Bütikofer has been a consistent voice against authoritarian expansion and an unwavering support of Taiwan's vibrant democracy. When the national security law was imposed on Hong Kong in 2020, Mr. Bütikofer, together with international group of parliamentarians from a wide range of political parties, launched the Interparliamentary Alliance on China to draw attention to Beijing's suppression of dissent. Ipac has helped coordinate democratic countries to respond to the growing challenges of authoritarian China. It has also galvanized support for Taiwan's international participation and urged the EU to sign bilateral investment agreement with Taiwan. In September 2020, Mr. Bütikofer was among the members of the European Parliament who called on the EU to revisit its one China policy and respect our decision to reject the one country, two system model. Last year, when the Lithuanian government was under unprecedented pressure from China, he co-signed a statement with other members of the European Parliament to show solidarity with Lithuania and reiterated that every EU member state has the right to engage with Taiwan. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my deepest appreciation for all his efforts. The people of Taiwan are sincerely grateful for his support. Mr. Bütikofer has been a vocal defender of Taiwan's freedom and democracy. I'm convinced that the ties between Taiwan and the EU will continue to thrive based on the solid foundations of our shared values. In closing, please join me in a big round of applause to congratulate Mr. Bütikofer on receiving his award. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes the ceremony. And we would like to invite all the members of the delegation to come to the front to take a photo together, okay, with Bütikofer. Okay. Okay, thank you. So the ceremony has ended. Here's a quick reminder, and the press conference will begin shortly. I'd like to invite press and journalists to move forward for the press conference later. Thank you。麻烦工作人员可以协助转场。
想要离家的近一点。对，反正这些桌子跟讲桌应该都有。
The press conference is about to begin.
Dear members of the press and distinguished guests, thank you very much indeed for joining Ipac's press conference today, and particularly thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs allowing to use their room and for lending us also their excellent spokeswoman who is amidst us. Thank you very much. And which will also moderate in a moment the questions from the press. We are very grateful for the warm welcome we had already here during 3 days.
各位媒体朋友，各位贵宾，欢迎大家来加入我们这个对华政策跨国议会联盟的记者会。我要特别感谢外交部向我们出场地，并且借他们非常优秀的发言人。等一下，发言人他会来主持接下来的媒体问答的时间。我要特别感谢我此行这3天以来所接受到所有的热情款待。
My name is Els van Hoof. I'm an MP from Belgium. I'm also the chair of our Foreign Affairs Committee, and we are all members, together with the colleagues, of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, a cross-party group of legislators numbering over 250 MPs from 30 different parliaments.
我的名字叫做范和夫，我是比利时的国会议员。我在比利时国会里面呢，也是在外交委员会的成员当中。那当然，我们对华政策跨国议会联盟 Ipac 呢，是一个来自超过30个国家的一个跨党派，超过250名会员的一个跨国国会议员的联盟。
We are all united around the belief that internationally based order based on rules and human rights are under pressure from the People's Republic of China, and that we need to coordinate more. We need a different approach, a more coherent, coordinated, effective approach to the PRC.
我们本身非常的团结，因为我们有个共同的信念，就是中华人民共和国近期之内一直在挑战以规则为基础的世界秩序，以及正在压迫人权。因此，我们对中国必须要有一贯的政策。
We are not an anti-China group, quite the opposite. We are in Ipac precisely because we are interested in China. But China's rise cannot be at the expense of global democracy and human rights. And the status quo in Taiwan cannot be changed unilaterally by the PRC.
我们并不是反华的组织，甚至相反，我们会加入 Ipac 这个联盟，是因为我们对中国的事务感兴趣。我们不认为中国的崛起应该要牺牲全世界的民主以及人权。我们也反对任何片面、单方面的去改变台海现状的任何行为。
So why are we here? This visit is a direct follow-up action from Ipac's Washington, D.C. press release, which we agreed on in person, also in Washington, D.C., by 60 legislators from 30 different countries this September. And the press release set out a comprehensive plan of action on Taiwan.
我们为何而来呢？事实上，我们先前在9月份在华府才开过一个年会，来自30个国家，超过60个与会者。然后我们也是在那一场年会当中共同发布了一个新闻稿，当中有我们对于台湾的许多完整的计划。
Among other things, it says, Taiwan's safety and the safety of our democracies grows with stronger partnerships. We will push to increase the number of interparliamentary visits, and as we heard, that's already a success, between Taiwan and parliaments all over the world. And then we help to mutual understanding and cooperation.
其中我们有一项就是我们是希望说台湾的安全以及全世界民主的安全可以透过我们跟台湾之间的伙伴关系的加深而进一步提升，甚至我们也必须要进一步去推动许多的跨国会的一个访问例如说台湾的国会以及全世界各国的国会必须要加强交流，目前这方面是很成功的。
It also commits IPAC to working towards appropriate cooperation between our countries and Taiwan. And not only on the economic level, on the cultural level, on the academic level, and if necessary, on the defense level. Together with our pushing for more increased involvement in about the meaningful participation of Taiwan in different international organizations. And what we also want is an increased bilateral trade.
我们 Ipac 呢，事实上一直在推动许多各个国家的国会跟台湾之间更正常化的互动，而且这些互动跟交流的层面不只是在经济、文化，还有在学术方面的。事实上，如果必要的话，其实国防方面的合作也必须要加强。因此呢，我们希望说能够进一步提升台湾在国际机构以及国际组织的参与，以及各国家跟台湾的双边贸易关系。
So we are here to express solidarity, of course, but we do more. Our network exists to bring also concrete action. That's very important, concrete change. And we would like to take this opportunity to say publicly that IPAC will be doing all we can to strengthen the positions of our own countries towards Taiwan. We hope that this will help to safeguard Taiwan's place on the international stage and make the prospect of conflict more remote.
我们在这边要表达跟台湾的坚决团结的意志，而且我们不止如此。事实上呢，我们这个联盟的存在，我们就是要带来实际的行动，跟带来实际的改变。我要借此机会公开的向大家说，我们会尽我们的所有的力量来加强。大家说，我们会尽我们的所有的力量来加强所有国家跟台湾之间的关系，来确保台湾在世界上面的一个地位跟角色，使得这个地区的冲突的可能性越来越小。
I will now give the floor to each of my colleagues to introduce themselves very briefly. And I first give the floor to Mr. Reinhard Butikofer.
接下来，我请我的同事们来简短的自我介绍。首先，我们请 Ipac 共同主席包瑞汉议员自我介绍。
For 2 minutes of comments or remarks, if he's able to hear us.
2分钟的时间要自我介绍，或者是要简短的发表意见也都可以。
Maybe I give just the floor first to Judith Cummins at my left.
先这样好了，由英国下议院的议员康明斯先发表意见。
Thank you very much. And I'm here, my name is Judith Cummins from the UK Parliament, and I'm here to offer solidarity and friendship to the people of Taiwan. I've very much enjoyed the hospitality of Taiwan and been made to feel very welcome. But most importantly, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk freely in an open democracy. Thank you.
大家好，我是康明斯，我来自英国的下议院。那我们这次来就是要向台湾的人民展现出了我们的团结跟友谊。我也在这段期间在台湾也受到热情的款待，我非常的开心。但更重要的是，我能够在台湾这样的民主的一个环境，可以自由的发言。
I now give the floor to Abdullah Hoti. He's MP from Kosovo.
接下来有请科索沃国会议员霍蒂来发言。
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here with a delegation from 7 countries representing 29 IPAC member countries to show our support to Taiwan. I am Abdullah Hoti, member of Parliament of Kosovo. Thank you.
非常高兴能够有加上我们科索沃总共有7个 IPAC 的会员国来一起来台湾这边访问，并且能够来台湾展现我们对台湾的支持非常感谢大家，我来自科索沃。
I now give the floor to Sjoerd Sjoerdsma.
Thank you. My name is Sjoerd Sjoerdsma. I'm an MP from the Netherlands. In 2024, we will be celebrating, I think, 400 years of the Dutch people and the Taiwanese people being in contact. And I'm very much looking forward to that event. But in the meantime, really, I've great admiration, I think, for the liberties and inequalities in your society. I think you're an example for entire Asia. Thank you.
大家好，我是史卓玛，我来自荷兰的国会。我在2年之后，2024年，我们就会欢庆荷兰人首次来到台湾的400周年。我很期待相关的活动。同时我也非常敬佩台湾的社会如此的自由跟平等，真的是亚洲的模范。
Now give the floor to Eva de Croix.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be here, and also big proudness to be able to say that I come from the country which is friend with the Taiwan already for more than 30 years, and I'm here to support this friendship, and I hope it will last for a long time. Thank you.
大家好，我是戴赫，我来自捷克的众议院。那我也非常自豪，因为我来自的国家真的是台湾的好朋友，而且我们的民主跟台湾大概也都是30年左右的一个年龄相仿的民主。那我们来就是要展现跟台湾的友谊，希望这份友谊能够持续长久的下去。
I give the floor to Mykola Kniazicki.
接下来由乌克兰的克尼兹基议员来发表。
Thank you. My name is Mykola Kniazicki. I am a member of parliament from Ukraine and also co-chair of Ipac. When I come here, I see big Ukrainian flag in your buildings. And we know in Ukraine that Taiwan support us. Thank you very much for your supporting. And also, we support in Taiwan. We support in you, we support in democracy and your future. Thank you.
大家好，我是克尼兹基，我来自乌克兰的国会，同时也是对华政策国会议员联盟的一个共同主席之一。那我来到台湾的时候，所到之处，很多地方都可以看得到，在悬挂着我们乌克兰的国旗，充分的感受到台湾对我们的支持，我非常感谢。那同时，我们也是支持着台湾的民主以及台湾光明的未来。
And if Mr. Rainer Boetekoffer wants to add something, there is a possibility.
保尔汉议员现在可否补充呢？
Else, I would propose that we give the journalists a chance to ask their questions. I would refrain from making remarks now.
So I will now invite the spokeswoman from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to moderate questions from the press.
保尔汉议员现在认为现在是时候让媒体开放提问了。那我们接下来有请我们的发言人。
Thank you very much. Co-Chair Honorable Els van Hoof, Co-Chair Mr. Boetekoffer, and hello, friends of the press. I also would like, before taking QA, also like to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Vincent Yao, Director General of European Affairs of the Foreign Ministry here with us. Now we open the floor. I'm conscious of the time, so how about we do it by group? 好吧，我们因为时间关系，我们就分类，然后有一个分类是 the first group maybe their visit to Taiwan or what experience, and so we take a round of questions, right, in order to organize the time. So any questions? Would like to first raise your hand. Yeah, Xiaoqiao, Joe, and then we do Kevin. Xiaoqiao, Joe first.
Hi, welcome to Taiwan. I'm Joseph from the Taiwan Central News Agency. I have a question that I know some of you have been sanctioned by China, and so now you're here in Taiwan. Some must call us the free China. So you're just one Taiwan Strait away from China. So do you have anything you want to say to the Chinese government, to the Chinese people? I think this is a good chance. Thank you.
Maybe I give the floor to Sjoerdsma.
Okay. All right, we'll take a few questions. Okay, so and then Kevin, Taiwan News. Microphone.
I'm Calvin from Taiwan News. Following your trip here, how will Ipac improve or change its strategy of dealing with China?
One question? Okay.
Well, I have another one. Did the war in Ukraine affect the importance that the alliance places on Taiwan?
Okay, thank you. With the permission of Madam Chair.
So, yes, I give first the floor to Sjoerd Sjoerdsma on the first question.
Yes, sure. As you probably know, many of us have been sanctioned by the government in Beijing, which makes it impossible for us to visit it in person, which is unfortunate. I mean, the European Union sanctions people who commit human rights violations. Beijing sanctions people who stand up for human rights, which is not only ironic, but a very sad situation. And I think many of us would want to visit Beijing and to have direct contact with the people over there. That's now impossible, but I think we have a message to Beijing, and I think the core message of our visit here is a message of solidarity to show, just after the Polity Congress took place in Beijing, that Taiwan is not to be isolated, but that contacts will only increase, that we will not be intimidated, that we'll be coming over more often, and that our relations and our friendships are not to be determined by others. Thank you.
我们大家都知道，我们当中有很多人被北京的政府制裁，因此我们其实已经没有办法亲自访问中国，跟已经访问北京，这是一件很不幸的事情。因为讽刺的事情，欧盟在对外制裁的时候都是制裁那些违反人权的人，但是北京却制裁那些为人权发声的人。因此，我觉得这件事情既难过又非常的讽刺。那事实上，其实我们都非常关心的中国人民，也希望能够造访中国去接触他们的人民。那我们想要跟北京所放出的释出的消息，就是说，我们想要对北京说，20大之后，其实我们会更加的坚定跟台湾团结站在一起，我们坚决反对台湾被孤立，我们要增加跟台湾之间的交流，我们不会被接受任何的恐吓，那我们跟台湾的友谊不是由其他人决定的。
Give the floor to Mykola.
Okay, thank you. We need to be ready to different situation. Before the war in Ukraine started, American security services and European security services set out that will be war. Unfortunately, we don't believe in this. Not only we in Ukraine, people in the world, in many countries, also don't believe in this. Main reason from this situation for us is that sanctions work. It's why you feel that some country can start a war against you. You need to speak with other country about sanctions, because sanctions work. We see the sanctions about Russians work. Next point, it's weapons. Now we feel that we need to be ready for war, and that we need to be weapons. And you can remember this myth about David and Goliath, you know, because we have a war against second army in the world. Our territory, Russian territory, is 20 times more than Ukrainian territory. They have 4 times more population, but we win in the front. Our army win. Unfortunately, they use rockets against our civilian. It's why we need weapons to save from the air. We see for this situation, and we understand that international supporting, it's very serious, and all countries need to be ready to make sanctions against aggressor and to give help with weapons to countries that support democracy. All from us need to support democracy, because now we have, unfortunately, it's not a war against war Russia against Ukraine, and war authoritarian world against democracy world, and Taiwan in this situation. It's why we support and we will be support Taiwan. Thank you.
Translation.
在俄乌战争爆发之前，其实有许多的美国以及欧洲的安全单位都认为，战事不会爆发。但是其实我们在乌克兰内部以及在许多的国家都并不相信这个说法。那如今战争爆发了，我们也看到许多国家都在积极的去制裁俄罗斯。那这个制裁也起了作用，因此许多磨刀霍霍想要去侵略别人的国家，有些国家可能想要侵略台湾的，他可能看到俄罗斯被制裁就不敢轻易的行动。那再有就是我们真的很需要
精良的武器。我们除了随时要做好国防准备之外呢，也必须要有相应的硬体的配套。因为现在我们的这场战争就有点像是大卫在对抗巨人一般，我们乌克兰面对的是一个全世界第2大的军事强权，国土面积是我们20倍大，人口是我们4倍大的俄罗斯，而我们处在最前线。虽然说我们在前线的确也有一些捷报，可是现在俄罗斯的炮弹与飞弹呢，也在攻击我们的民间的目标，因此我们也需要相应的武器来保卫我们自己的人民。现在我们看到国际都很积极的在支持着我们，也在积极的去制裁侵略者。因为现在的工作的重点就是我们一定要去支持民主，因为这场战争不只是俄罗斯与乌克兰两国之间，其实是独裁与民主这2种制度之间的战争。这也是为什么我们乌克兰支持台湾，也收到了台湾的非常多的支持。
The third question I'd like to answer also how to strengthen our ties with assertive and even aggressive position of the PRC. We say in the European Union, since the strategic outlook on China, that China is a system rival, a political partner, but also a competitor on the economic level. And that we have to cooperate when we can, but push back when we must. And we are now in a time of pushbacks also. And that's why we need to cooperate and strengthen our partnership. And as I already said, we have to do that by more visits to Taiwan. And as I understood, there are 30 parliamentary visits to Taiwan. It has increased enormously after the visit of Nancy Pelosi.
我们跟中华人民共和国之间当然也是竞合的关系，像我们欧盟之前的战略展望就已经特别明说了，中国是一个系统性的对手，是我们在经济方面的伙伴，同时也是竞争的对手。所以呢，跟中华人民共和国，我们在能合作的地方我们会合作，但是在必要的地方我们也会去反抗，去向中华人民共和国表达我们的意志。所以呢，我们当然就是说。跟中华人民共和国也好，跟台湾也好，就是说我们会追求更多的伙伴关系。对台湾的访问当然也是会持续的增加。我也有注意到，在之前美国众议长佩洛西访问台湾之后，许多的欧美的访团来台湾的数量也都增加了，甚至有到30个国会访团之多。
So we need a coordinated policy. We need more multilateralism against also China, who's not really fond of it. That's really important. But the pushback, as my colleague Mikola already said, we also can have sanctions when it's necessary. We already introduced sanctions on the European level with the Magnitsky Act, which has been pushed by my colleague Sjoerd Sjoerdsma. But we have to use this instrument when it's necessary.
所以呢，我们其实在外交政策，甚至还有在多边主义方面，必须要做非常多的协调工作。那刚刚也说过，在必要的时候，我们必须要去反抗，甚至在必要的时候，也会用制裁的手段。那事实上，我们无论是在欧盟的各个会员国，还是欧盟联盟的层级，我们其实都已经有对外的进行这些必要的制裁。
Other questions?
So with the permission of co-chairs, we proceed the second round. Is that okay? Okay, well, second round about human rights abuses in China, also Ipac relationship with China, or other questions. Okay, questions from reporters? 第二轮有没有中国的成语？是不是？来 ，Okay. We do first 言语Deutsch view, right? Yes. Okay. And then one more. Okay, 你等一下 you're the second one. Okay. Okay. 成语 you state your question.
Julian from Deutsche Welle. Just one simple question. You have said that you are not an anti-China or China-bashing organization, and on the opposite, you are seeking communication with China. So did you ever try to approach China directly to have maybe dialogue with their leadership directly? And could you share with us more details on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Deutsch view. Okay, we take more questions, so we do more questions this round. Yes, please. You want it? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joanne from NTD-TV. I want to ask, thanks for the Ipac member for the human rights around the world, and I want to ask about, for 3 consecutive years, Ipac has issued statements condemning the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of Falun Gong and other religions, especially its continued practice of the organ harvest. So what the parliament in Europe do to criminalize for the forced organ harvesting and the persecution on Falun Gong or other groups in China? Thank you.
Thanks. That's news. Tang Dynasty Television, right? Okay, very right. Okay, more questions. Liberty Times, Chen Yu, and then we do you.
Good morning. I'm Chen Yu from the Liberty Times. The question is about the UN Human Rights Council voted against the motion to debate human rights issues in Xinjiang. What else can the international community do to address human rights abuses in China? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take last question. Young from this gentleman, yes.
I'm Ken Zheng from Epoch Times. What role should human rights play in responding to a systematic challenge and threats of communist dictatorship? Thank you.
So thank you. This round with the permission of Madam Chair.
Yes. I will give the floor to Schurzma for the first question. Yeah.
So this is the question from Deutsche Welle, yeah, sure. I think many of us would be delighted to enter in substantial dialogue with the government of Beijing. But as I stated previously, quite a few of us have been sanctioned by Beijing, have been blacklisted, which prevents us at least from having this dialogue in their country. And obviously we try to have that dialogue and to bring across our messages, to be fair, mostly critical messages, but of course sometimes also an open-handed invitation to talk about issues of mutual concern such as climate change with the ambassadors from Beijing. Problem is that, you know, oftentimes these conversations fall on deaf ears, because whenever we like to initiate or to have such a conversation, the first thing that these representatives of the government of Beijing want us to do is to ensure that these kind of visits will not happen. They try to intimidate some of our members to not go to Taiwan, to not speak out, to not intensify relations with Taiwan, to prevent any further increased economic cooperations from happening. So as to the extent that there is a dialogue, I think it's a dialogue, a very one-sided dialogue, let me put it that way. And of course, this is of great concern to us because some of the other members of the press mentioned human rights violations. We need, as democracy, we need not only to defend our own people from threats emanating from Beijing, but also to prevent those in mainland China who are under threat of their own government. And obviously to do so, you need to have a dialogue, but if a dialogue fails, you need to have serious sanctions. And this is something that my party and that Ipac has been proposing indeed. Thank you.
Translation?
好，当然我们在座的很多都很乐意去跟北京政府去进行双边的对话，但是因为我们很多都已经被列入北京的黑名单被制裁了，因此我们没有办法到北京那边实质的跟他们对话。事实上，我们一直在尝试要把我们想要讲的释放的消息都想要传达给北京方面。有一些的消息可能有些的讯号可能是比较在批评他们的，可是其实我们也希望说能够在我们跟中国之间一些共同关切的领域呢，也希望进行对话，例如说像是气候变迁等等。只是说我们常常要开启对话的时候，要么就是被他们忽略，要么就是说如果他们要对话的时候，北京的代表就会要求我们有个但书，就是说要对话可以，但是不准访问台湾，也不准深化跟台湾的关系。那当然这也是我们非常大的一个疑虑啦。就是另外一个疑虑，就是说，我们刚刚有很多的媒体朋友有提到，就是对中国人权问题的一个关切。那事实上，我们不但是在保卫我们各自的所代表的国家，因为这些国家其实多少也有面对一些来自北京的威胁，但是看到中国人民他们被他们自己的政府压迫的时候，我们也觉得我们有这个义务、这个责任去保护这些人啊。因此呢，我们当然是希望先透过对话，但是当对话行不通的时候，最后只好用制裁的方式。
I give the floor to Reinhard Bütikofer on the human rights issues. Reinhard? on the human rights issues? Can you hear us? No. Anybody wants to add something on the human rights issues? Sure, you.
I will.
Eva,
try shortly. Maybe our colleague, meanwhile, he will be able to connect. So thank you very much for these 3 questions concerning the human rights. I'm really pleased that this issue is open as well here. Because
Matthias.
I'm a bit okay. I follow and let's see after. It's something which should be in the core of all our business and politics. As was mentioned here already, we have very strong instrument in the European Union. It's a Magnitsky Act on the European level and as well as on the national levels. It's something supported by the IPAC because it's all very likely through these sanctions and through the attention made by international society on the people liable for this violation, we may create such a strong pressure that will help to the victims of that, because this is today the only way how to do it, because we have very low possibility to enter in the middle of the dictatorship, so we have to act from outside. And I'm very pleased that it's like 1 week we have in Czech Republic Magnitsky Act. We know it's working. It was mentioned that it's a strong instrument also towards Russia. And we have never forget to mention it on each press conference and all political levels. I think it's now very important to do. And I don't know if Reinhard is here back.
How about we allow some translation for what you just said?
Thank you.
Is that okay?
非常感谢媒体朋友们提了3个问题是关切人权议题的哈。我相信人权议题在我们的业务以及在我们的政治呢，必须要在核心的地位。那事实上，我们在整个欧盟以及各个会员国，其实都有各自，无论是在联盟层级还是国家层级，都有各自的马金斯基相关的法案哦，都是进一步能够强化我们的人权的作为。那像这样子的作为，其实我们 Ipac 联盟以及非常多的国际社会的许多的组织也都是非常非常的认同跟支持的，因为我们希望说，透过这些作为，能够去向独裁威权者施压，并且去帮助这些受害的人民。那当然，我们知道说，因为被制裁的关系，所以我们很难在独裁的威权的国家的内部去进行去帮我们的一个忙，所以呢，我们很多作为必须从外部去进行。那事实上，我们的许多作为其实针对俄罗斯这边的话，也是已经发挥了很好的效果。
If no, he's gone again. Reinhard can't intervene, or is possible for you? Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear us?
I suspect you are addressing me with a question, but the tone was so low that I did not understand the question at all.
Can we repeat the question? Share the question was like, I'm sorry. About
Germany?
To address human rights abuses in China. Eva already answered a bit, but also on the Uyghur question, which have been raised, and the organ dealing. These were different questions. So the Uyghur question, the organ dealing, and how to react to human rights abuses in China. We didn't. No, there is. You can't hear us. No, I don't think so. We have to take other questions, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, all right. So we take over the last round of questions, and so when the connection is there, we go back to Chairperson Beauty-Koffer. Last round of questions, yes, please. AP, and some more? Yeah, okay, then we do the first round first, okay? Yes.
Okay, I'm Johnson Lai from Associated Press. The question I was thinking to ask about Mr. Butikofer, but I don't know if he can listen us clearly here. But anyway, also this question for all the delegation members. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is about to visit China. And does German government support continuing to maintain close economic and trade relations with China? And my second question is, as EU leaders advised to take tougher line on China, and does Chancellor Scholz's visit to China send a confusing message to EU members and all the democratic nations? Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson. That was from American Press. Okay, more questions? Mirror TV, no, you don't have any other first round? If not first round, we'll do last questions for Taiwan News, or last questions Taiwan News, and then Liberty Times, okay? With that, we wrap up. Kevin. Yes, okay.
Yes, Junyan from Deutsche Welle again. I also would like to put a question about the growing tensions between Taiwan and China. I think that's the topic that concerns the whole world, especially the Western democratic world mostly. We just would like to know your personal judgment on the possibilities of maybe a hot war between Taiwan and China, and what kind of actual efforts does the APEC could offer to prevent the tensions escalating. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deutsche Welle. And the last question for Liberty Times.
Thank you. My question is about the economy. Yes. As the lessons learned from Russia's energy blackmail recently, yes, as the lessons learned from Russia's energy blackmail recently, is it urgent for every European countries to diversify its trade partners and avoid heavily relying on trade with authoritarian regions like China or Russia? Is it possible and feasible? And how could and how would democratic allies to work together? Thank you.
I will pass some questions to Abdullah. You want to answer one of the questions?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, what can we do? During this visit, we have seen that we have seen over and over again that Taiwan is a thriving democracy, is part of the democratic world, and we are not willing to compromise on this, and any kind of tensions that might arise, it should be known for everybody that we will coordinate our actions among all democratic countries of the world to act in a unified way. No one can change by force the way how we decide to live our life and how we organize our societies and our democracies. And the second one, if I may, on the economy, I think we have learned from the example of Ukraine. Sometimes we pursue economic goals. We used to pursue economic goals. And pursuing only economic goals and not taking into consideration some political purposes, maybe we go into a situation whereby we are very much relying on regimes that do not share our values. So what is important now, and what the lesson that we have learned, is that we have to diversify our economies. First and second, we have to rely on and increase our economic cooperation with reliable partners. And I think this is my advice to Taiwan as well. Thank you.
Translation, thank you.
此次访问台湾呢，也是见证了台湾真的是一个繁荣的民主，台湾属于民主的世界。因此，我们在面对比如说紧张关系升温的时候呢，我们不应该妥协，反而应该让大家知道说，我们民主国家会各自协调，然后大家一起团结，不去拒绝由外部的势力来干预我们的生活方式以及社会制度。在经济方面呢，当然我们乌克兰也是学到了很多教训，因为 过去呢，我们就是在追求经济成长的目标，但是比较会去忽略这些经济成长的手段背后有什么样的政治意涵，因此导致我们可能会过度依赖一些跟我们理念不相近的国家。所以我们学到的教训就是说，我们应该要更多元、多角化的去发展我们的经济，在经济的伙伴当中呢，我们可能要多接触这些比较可靠的经济伙伴。
Reinhard, are you with us?
Hello?
Yeah, could you answer the question about Olaf Scholz and his visit to China?
Yes, certainly I can do that. I would say that the visit of our Chancellor to China is probably the most controversially debated visit in the country for the last 50 years. That visit has come under a lot of criticism, particularly for the timing, and because a lot of people are afraid that the Chancellor might not do and say what should be done and said in Beijing. But Germany's China policy is not defined unilaterally by the Chancellor. The government consists of 3 coalition parties. And in the coalition contract, that is the founding document of the government, there has been an outline of China policy that is a severe break with the overly soft policy that previous governments pursued. By the way, in this coalition contract, for the first time ever, there's a clear expression of support for Taiwan's democracy against China's aggression, and also for Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organizations. But just as in other European countries and the EU altogether, China policy will be in transformation, in transition for some time. We cannot return to the China policy of yesteryear because the realities have changed. Xi leads a totalitarian regime, and if reality changes, then the policy must also change. It is true that the EU is pursuing a more tough policy, for instance, in the trade sector, where we have developed trade defense instruments that years ago we would have considered unnecessary, but regarding the reality of China's unfair trade and investment practices, we now found these instruments useful and necessary. I believe that the debate in Germany is therefore not over 2 extremes. It's not over the extreme of believing in the CCP's win-win promise. Nobody believes that anymore. But it's also not about the extreme of complete decoupling. Not even in the US does anybody believe that complete decoupling is a good idea. Just ask AmCham. It is the question how we can avoid becoming dependent on authoritarian regimes that could use those dependencies as economic chokeholds for political ends. This is the debate that we're having. And there, the Chancellor is certainly not one of the greatest drivers of this debate, and other parties are pushing harder. And it is true that some of our European partners and allies are irritated, and I understand that. And I think we could have avoided that if the Chancellor would have followed the outline that we laid down together 1 year ago, when we said that Germany's China policy must be strongly integrated with the EU's China policy, and that we should also enhance the transatlantic cooperation on China. That the Chancellor has not done so far. So there is
we need translation
for criticism, but the change, the historic change, I believe, cannot be stopped. And if you have any doubt, then just go to the polling results that we have seen all around Europe. 10 years ago, in all countries with the exception of Italy, the overall spirit or attitude towards China was overwhelmingly positive. Today, in all European countries, the attitude towards China is extremely critical. It's just the inverse. China scientists, China academics, think tanks, even the business community is taking a more critical view. So I would say that a realistic China policy must be willing to be tough, and I think that we will get there.
Thank you, Reinhard.
Quick translation, really quick translation.
当然，德国总理这个时间访问中国的确是蛮有争议的啦。就是说，这是15年以来大概是德国总理出访最具争议的一次，因为有很多的人都会去批评，然后去质疑访问的时间点，甚至很多人有许多的相关的疑虑。那事实上呢，我们德国的对华政策并不是单单能够由总理就能够一个人决定。事实上，我们现在德国政府是由3个党去形成的联合政府。那在联合政府的合约当中，其实也有约束政府，当中也有特别去制定我们对华政策的方针。那当然，除了延续之前历届政府的对华政策之外呢，我们也是首次在这个合约当中有提到要支持台湾的民主，那反对中国对台湾的文攻武吓，以及支持台湾加入国际组织等。那事实上，我们德国的对华政策跟其他欧洲的对华政策都是一样的，就是说，我们其实也会随着中国的政局改变、状况改变，我们也会因地制宜会去调整。那现在习近平他更加的独裁，使得中国的状况变了，我们的对华政策自然也会改变。那的确就是像我们在对外贸易的时候，我们也看到中国有许多不公平、不平等的一些贸易作为，因此我们也觉得说，在对华贸易方面必须采取比较强硬的态度。那事实上，我们的确就是在对外贸易方面，我们德国内部的一些辩论、一些讨论，当然就是说不要求。大家的共识是不要走极端路线，就是说，我们当然也不全然相信中国他们所谓想要追求双赢这个说法，但是我们也不支持跟中国完全经济脱钩，就连美国他们也都不这样子认为哈。所以说，接下来的问题就是说，我们要如何不要太过依赖这些威权的国家在经济方面，因为这些国家可能会以经济作为手段来达到他们的政治目的。当然，这个时候，德国总理访中，当然大家会有一点不高兴，这是可以理解的。那总理其实他也可以去避免这些争议，他的做法很简单，就是说，只要德国的对华政策跟欧盟的对华政策更加一致，然后总理他在联合政府的合约当中的对华政策的纲领，如果他能够更能够按照这个纲领去进行对华政策的话，那事实上就可以避免很多的争议了。那事实上，10年之前在欧洲，如果你问欧洲各个国家去做民调的话，基本上大部分的人对中国是持正面看法的。但是现在呢，因为时局改变了，现在的欧洲人比较会去对中国采取批判的态度，无论是智库 学界、政界还是商界，基本上对中国都是批判有加。因此呢，现在务实的对华政策当然就是要对中国强硬一点，这是比较适合的。
Thanks. No more questions from reporters. I will hand the floor back to Madam Chairperson, Honorable Hoof. Thank you.
I would like to conclude, and thank you very much, Mrs. Spokeswoman, for your excellent coordinations. I would like also thank the press for their interest and their presence, but I want above all thank also the Taiwanese people for their warm welcome. And we want to give the promise and the permanent promise that we will always stand with you. There is an international saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, and that's what we want to do with Ipac, go together with Taiwan. Thank you very much.
好，作为总结，首先要非常谢谢各位媒体朋友来到这边，特别关心我们的这个访团。那也非常感谢发言人刚刚在主持我们的媒体问答，也非常感谢台湾的人民在我们此行给我们热情的款待。那我也是会持续的跟大家承诺，我们会跟台湾持续的团结站在一起。我们在国际上有一句话，就是说，如果你要走得快，你就单独走；如果你想走得远，大家一起走。我们 Ipac 呢，就是要想要跟台湾一起走得远，跟大家一起，跟所有的民主的伙伴一起走得远。这个我就收下了。